Aloha Jivas! Welcome to another day of Bhagavad Gita as it is by A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupad. We are on chapter 2 and starting with text 51. Karma jam buddhi-yukto hi phalam tyaktva manishinaha janma bandha vinirmuktaha padam gacchantyanam. The wise, engaged in devotional service, take refuge in the Lord and free themselves from the cycle of birth and death by renouncing the fruits of action in the material world. In this way, they can attain the state beyond all miseries. Purport. The liberated living entities seek that place where there are no material miseries. The Bhagavatam says, Samashrita ye pada palava plavam mahat padam panya yasho murarehe bhavam buddhir vatsa padam 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 param padam yad vipadam natasam, which is translated as, quote, for one who has accepted the boat of the lotus feet of the Lord, who is the shelter of the cosmic manifestation, and is famous as Mukunda, or the giver of mukti, the ocean of the material world is like the water contained in a calf's hoofprint. Padam Padam, or the place where there are no material miseries, or Vaikuntha, is his goal, not the place where there is danger in every step of life. Unquote. Owing to ignorance, one does not know that this material world is a miserable place where there are dangers at every step. Out of ignorance only, less intelligent persons try to adjust to the situation by fruitive activities, thinking that resultant actions will make them happy. They do not know that no kind of material body anywhere within the universe can give life without miseries. The miseries of life, namely birth, death, old age, and diseases, are present everywhere within the material world. But one who understands his real constitutional position as the eternal servitor of the Lord, and thus knows the position of the personality of Godhead, engages himself in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. Consequently, he becomes qualified to enter into the Vaikuntha planets, where there is neither material, miserable life, nor the influence of time and death. To know one's constitutional position means to know also the sublime position of the Lord. One who wrongly thinks that the living entity's position and the Lord's position are on the same level is to be understood to be in darkness, and therefore unable to engage himself in the devotional service of the Lord. He becomes a Lord himself, and thus paves the way for the repetition of birth and death. But one who, understanding that his position is to serve, transfers himself to the service of the Lord, at once becomes eligible for Vaikuntha Loka. Service for the cause of the Lord is called karma yoga or Buddhi-yukto, or in plain words, devotional service to the Lord. I think that we all can acknowledge and see the beauty and wonderful things in the world that we live in. That's what helps keep us sane here, because otherwise, really, if you stop to think about the insanity that goes on in this world, it is as it's described, insane. It's maddening. So it's like a constant practice to maintain detachment from it by acknowledging, what is beautiful, what we do appreciate, and what we are grateful for. We really can't deny the fact that these emotions of happiness and distress are temporary, because we know that when we are, well, at least in hindsight, right, when we're going through a difficult time, which is inevitable for everybody, I would assume. I haven't known anyone who has not had difficult trials in their lives. But in retrospect, usually we see that there is an end or transformation at some point, and or a light at the end of the tunnel, we often say. And so yeah, that's why we're always striving to find those moments, as fleeting as they are, of happiness. But what this is explaining is that happiness here in this material world is only temporary, but there is a place, the heavenly, eternal, divine realm, where there is a life of eternity, knowledge, and bliss, where there is no death, there are no miseries. So let's continue to text 52. Yada te moha kalilam buddhir-vyatitarishyati tada gantasi nirvedam shrotavyasya shrutasya cha. When your intelligence has passed out of the dense forest of delusion, you shall become indifferent to all that has been heard and all that is to be heard. Purport. There are many good examples in the lives of the great devotees of the Lord, of those who became indifferent to the rituals of the Vedas simply by devotional service to the Lord. When a person factually understands Krishna and his relationship with Krishna, he naturally becomes completely indifferent to the rituals of fruitive activities, even though an experienced Brahmin, Sri Madhavendra Puri, a great devotee and acharya in the line of the devotees, says, Santya bandhan bhadram astu bhavato bo snana tubhyam namo bo devaha pitarascha tarpana vidho naham kshmaha ksham yatam yatra kvapi nishadya yadava kulotamasya kamsa dvishaha smaram agam maharami tadalam anye kim anye name. Translated as, quote, O Lord, in my prayers 3 times a day, all glory to you. Bathing, I offer my obeisances to you. O demigods, O forefathers, please excuse me for my inability to offer you my respects. Now, wherever I sit, I can remember the great descendant of the Yadu dynasty, Krishna, the enemy of Kamsa, and thereby I can free myself from all sinful bondage. I think this is sufficient for me, unquote. The Vedic rites and rituals are imperative for neophytes, comprehending all kinds of prayer 3 times a day, taking a bath early in the morning, offering respects to the forefathers, etc. But when one is fully in Krishna consciousness and is engaged in his transcendental loving service, one becomes indifferent to all these regulative principles because he has already attained perfection. If one can reach the platform of understanding by service to the Supreme Lord Krishna, he has no longer to execute different types of penances and sacrifices as recommended and revealed scriptures. And similarly, if one has not understood that the purpose of the Vedas is to reach Krishna and simply engages in the rituals, etc., then he is uselessly wasting time in such engagements. Persons in Krishna consciousness transcend the limit of Shabda Brahma, or the range of the Vedas and Upanishads. So, this is explaining that in the Vedas, they prescribe like ritualistic routines for daily living that help to maintain your consciousness in God consciousness and Krishna consciousness. These rites and rituals, like it's describing, when you wake up, do your ablutions, where you're like cleansing your body, and then you say prayers at dawn or right before dawn, at high noon, and again, just at dusk time, among all of the many other things like arti, like offering incense, offering fire to your deities, to God. All of these things are recommended, especially for what they call neophytes, people that are sort of realizing how the material world is not the end all. It is so that when they realize that there's an eternity waiting for them, that there's a soul inside their body, that there's more to just this life even, and so so all of these actions help to like train your mind and consciousness, and also literally purify your consciousness, purify your karma as well. And so there does come a point though at which it's not necessary to be attached to those things either, because what is more sweet in devotional service is the spontaneity of life. And so once you are in that mode of maintaining Krishna consciousness, then living in Krishna consciousness in a spontaneous way is a higher goal. So that's what that's talking about. Text 53. Shruti vipratipannate yada stasyati nischala samadha vachala buddhistada yogam avapsyasi. When your mind is no longer disturbed by the flowery language of the Vedas, and when it remains fixed in the trance of self-realization, then you will have attained the divine consciousness. Purport. To say that one is in Samadhi is to say that one has fully realized Krishna consciousness. That is, one in full Samadhi has realized Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. The highest perfection of self-realization is to understand that one is eternally the servitor of Krishna, and that one's only business is to discharge one's duties in Krishna consciousness. A Krishna-conscious person, or unflinching devotee of the Lord, should not be disturbed by the flowery language of the Vedas, nor be engaged in fruitive activities for promotion to the heavenly kingdom. In Krishna consciousness, one comes directly into communion with Krishna, and thus all directions from Krishna may be understood in that transcendental state. One is sure to achieve results by such activities and attain conclusive knowledge. One has only to carry out the orders of Krishna or his representative, the spiritual master. Thanks for joining me again today. please leave any comments or questions, encouragement, or whatever it is you're feeling if you're watching the video. I do appreciate it, and I'll see you next time. Hare Krishna.